Have you ever ignored your instincts so completely that your own body rebelled? Heart hammering, skin crawling, a voice in your chest screaming, don't. But you did anyway. For money. Would you take a job that offers cash, no paperwork, no background checks, and only one real requirement? Follow the rules, even when they don't make sense, even when they feel like they're written in blood. Because I did. And now, I don't think I ever really left. It started 2 months ago. I was broke. Not tied on cash broke, but the kind of broke where your stomach is your alarm clock. Car totaled. Job lost. Rent due. Utilities overdue. Every text notification sent a spasm through my body. It could be my landlord, the bank, or a collections bot reminding me I was already underwater. ID burned through all my favors, run out of people to borrow from, and exhausted the kind of luck that keeps you coasting. Then I saw the ad. It was buried in a forgotten corner of Craigslist under the etc. category. No images, just text. Night security needed cash, paid, daily discretion required. No prior experience necessary. No background checks. Must be punctual. Must follow the rules. There was a number and a name. Marvin. Call between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. only. It reeked of desperation, and at that moment, I was fluent in it. I called at 9:04. Marvin picked up on the second ring. His voice was dry, clipped. Not unfriendly, just efficient. You want a job? He asked, skipping the pleasantries. I guess I need to know what it is first. Night security. Pine Shadows Mall. Starts tonight. That dead mall on the edge of town? Only mall still technically open, he said. Technically. No interview? Nope. No paperwork? Nope. You just hire people over the phone? I hire the ones who show up, he said, then gave me an address. Back entrance. 11:50 sharp. Don't be late. He hung up. Pine Shadows Mall used to mean something. I remember coming here as a kid for birthday parties and movie premieres. The air buzzed with the hum of life, echoing from every food court table and arcade cabinet. But by the time I showed up for the job, the place had been gutted. Only a handful of stores still operated during the day, mostly clearance outlets, and dying franchises clinging to rent deals. At night, it was a crypt, a concrete lung that had stopped breathing years ago. The parking lot was empty except for a dented blue sedan parked under a crooked light pole, the lamp above it flickering like it was fighting sleep. Marvin was leaning against the dock door, short and wiry, with skin like wax paper and eyes that moved more than he did. He kept glancing over his shoulder as if expecting the shadows to cough. You're early, he said. Is that a problem? No. Early S good. Late S bad. How bad? I asked, trying to start a conversation. He didn't answer. Instead, he handed me a laminated card the size of a phone. It looked homemade, with faint scratches on the plastic and worn corners. Read this, he said. Memorize it. Don't break it. Don't bend it. Don't get clever. The card read, Night Shift Guidelines, Pine Shadows Mall. 1. Clock in by 11:55 p.m. Never later. 2. Lock the main doors. All of them. 3. Between 12:15 a.m. and 1 a.m., avoid the East Wing. No matter what you hear. 4. If you see someone on the food court carousel, do not acknowledge them. Walk away. 5. At 2:33 a.m., check the toy store. If the clown doll is missing from its window display, leave immediately. 6. Never fall asleep. I laughed before I could stop myself. Are you serious? Marvin's expression didn't change. Not even a smirk. He just stared. You think this is funny? He asked, a hint of something more than anger in his eyes. Kinda. Rule 5 especially. The clown doll? Really? He leaned in, his voice low. You follow the rules, or you end up like Gary. Who is Gary? He held my gaze for one long, unblinking second. Clock in at 11:55. Most sane people would have left. Called a friend. Laughed about it over beers. But I was feeling very sane. I needed the money. I needed something. So I stayed. The interior of the mall felt worse than the outside. The temperature dropped the second I crossed the threshold, not the cold of poor heating, but an unnatural chill, as if the walls themselves had been sitting in a walk-in freezer. The lights buzzed overhead like dying insects, casting a sickly yellow hue across cracked tile floors and shuttered storefronts. The scent was what hit me hardest, a sharp mix of burnt plastic and floral cleaner, a desperate attempt to hide the smell of something rotting underneath. I walked past abandoned kiosks, their faded signs once hawking phone cases and cheap jewelry. Dust clung to everything, the kind that looks disturbed even when you're sure nothing has touched it in years. The storefronts were dark. Some still had mannequins in the windows, posed like frozen corpses in last season's promotional gear. A security desk sat near the central junction, its outdated monitors showing grainy black and white footage. Half of them were static. I clocked in at 11:55 p.m. exactly. The ancient punch clock made a sickly crunching sound and spat my time card out like it didn't want to touch it. My first round was locking the exterior doors. Marvin had underlined that part on the card, every last one. The 6 main entrances each had a separate key. Some locks protested, one nearly snapping off in my hand. By the time I got the last one bolted, my shirt was sticking to my back, but they were all sealed by midnight. Then I stood at the edge of the east wing. At 12:15 a.m., the air changed. It wasn't just colder, it felt heavier, thicker, carrying a hum that wasn't mechanical, but organic, like a breath echoing through an old pipe. The lights above the east wing flickered faster than the rest, a strobe-like effect that made the hallway beyond the first few storefronts stretch into an unnatural, wrong kind of darkness. Then it began. Children laughing. Soft, musical, coming from nowhere and everywhere at once. The kind of laughter that should have been joyful, but instead tied my stomach in a knot. There were no kids in that mall. There hadn't been for years. The laughter echoed as if bouncing through drain pipes, twisted and gleeful. I heard a rhyme, something about spinning and catching and counting to 10. My instinct screamed at me to investigate. That's what security guards do, right? But the card in my pocket felt heavy, almost hot. Avoid the east wing, no matter what you hear. So I turned and walked away. Every step was like wading through water, heavy and reluctant, but I obeyed. As soon as I passed the vending machines, the laughter stopped. The dead silence that followed was worse. That was the first time I felt it watching me. Not a person. The mall itself. The building knew I was there. Pine shadows wasn't just empty, it was hollow. It felt like the walls had absorbed every scream, every whisper, every echo of life, and decided to keep them. My next round took me to the food court. Most of the chairs were stacked, but a few remained scattered, as if someone had sat down to eat years ago and never got up. And then I saw the carousel. It sat in the center of the court like a relic, a small, child-sized ride with peeling paint and silent horses frozen mid-gallop. I'd noticed it before, but now someone was on it. A man in a gray hoodie, sitting completely still atop a faded white horse. His head was tilted slightly downward, obscuring his face. My body tensed. Every door was locked. No alarms had tripped. It made no sense. I didn't look at him for long, just long enough to feel the wrongness radiating from him like heat from an open oven. Rule 4 came back to me. Do not acknowledge them. Walk away. So I did. My pace steady, my breath shallow, my eyes fixed forward. As I rounded the corner into a storage hallway, I allowed myself one glance back. The carousel was empty. No sound, no motion, just me and the sick realization that I was being watched. At 2:33 a.m., I approached the toy store, my curiosity now tinged with fear. The glass windows were grimy, streaked with years of fingerprints. Inside, old displays gathered dust wooden trains, off-brand action figures, plastic dinosaurs. And in the window, right where the rules said it would be, was the clown. It was about 2 feet tall, with red yarn hair, a painted white face, and a cracked smile. Its red nose was jammed on crooked, and its eyes were painted with long, black lashes and little blue teardrops. It was still harmless, but I swear it looked aware. I stared at it longer than I should have, my throat dry, my legs stiff. Nothing happened. The doll was in its place. I was safe for now. When dawn broke, Marvin was waiting for me by the back entrance, arms crossed. "You did good," he said, sounding surprised. I wanted to ask about the clown, the man on the carousel, the east wing. But before I could open my mouth, he was already walking toward his car. I told myself it was just stress, my brain filling in the blanks. I figure I could muscle through for a week, stack enough cash to fix my car, and buy some breathing room. But Pine Shadows doesn't let you adjust. It waits, it watches, and then it changes the rules. Night 3 was a shift that broke me. That was the night I made my first real mistake. I was 2 minutes late. My ride bailed at the last second. I didn't have cash for a cab, so I ran. Across town, through a cold spring night, my lungs on fire. I kept checking the time on my burner phone. 11:52, 11:54, 11:57. I slipped my badge into the clock and heard it punch the time. 2 minutes late. I stood there, panting, sweat freezing on my neck, staring at the time card. The mall felt it. The lights buzzed louder, like angry bees trapped in glass. The air was thick and uneasy. Every shadow felt a foot too long. Every step echoed a beat too late. Then the radio started crackling with rhythmic, pattern sounds, phrases spoken too fast and too low to catch, like something was trying to talk through the static. Then I noticed the doors. Doors I'd locked on previous nights were now wide open. Not all of them, just enough to feel deliberate, like an invitation. I didn't take it. I turned and locked them again, fast. The second the deadbolts clicked, I heard something move on the other side. Not a person, not an animal. At 12:15 a.m., the east wing began to breathe. The air pressure shifted, the lights dimmed, and then came the footsteps. Heavy, slow, measured, like big boots dragging a length of chain across the tile. I couldn't breathe. I backed into a janitor's closet, shut the door, and sat on a bucket, hands clenched around my radio, listening to it move just outside. I didn't come out until 1:01 a.m. The hallway was empty, except for the floor. Long, deep gouges were scraped into the tile in looping, violent patterns. They all stopped just inches from the closet door. I didn't say a word for the rest of the shift. Marvin was waiting for me the next morning. This time, he didn't speak. He just handed me a new laminated card. It was fresh, clean. Updated night shift rules, Pine Shadows Mall. 1. If you miss clock in, stay outside. Do not enter until 1:01 a.m. Apologize aloud when you do. Hope it's accepted. 2. If you hear strange sounds, close your eyes and chant, "We shall obey. We shall obey." 3. If doors are unlocked, relock them. Fast. 4. Never open the gate to the children's play area. Not even if you hear crying. I held the card, my hand trembling slightly. Who writes these? I finally asked. He shook his head. They write themselves. The next several nights were hell. I started seeing things, quick flashes in the corner of my eye, a silhouette ducking into an aisle, a face in a window. Once, while walking past the sunglass hut, I saw a woman behind the counter. She was too still, her arms hanging at her sides. Her hair was jet black and bone straight, falling over a face that looked wrong, too smooth, as if someone had drawn it in a hurry and forgotten the eyebrows. Her eyes were all black, no whites, no irises, just glassy voids staring through the display glass. She didn't blink. She smiled. I moved fast, didn't break stride, didn't turn around. When I glanced back from the end of the hall, the sunglass hut was empty. I started talking to myself to stay focused, reciting the rules like mantras. It didn't help, but it gave me something to do besides panic. And then came the worst night. It was 2:33 a.m. The mall was pin drop silent. I made my way to the toy store, heart pounding. I got to the display window, and the clown was gone. Just an empty spot on the shelf with a faint imprint in the dust. I froze, every inch of me wanting to believe I was wrong, that it had fallen, that they had moved it. Then I heard it, a giggle, right behind me. I turned slowly. The clown stood in the middle of the corridor, head tilted, its painted smile somehow too wide. It took a step, tap, and then another, tap. I didn't wait for a third. I bolted. I don't know how I ran that fast. I tore down the hallway, past the carousel, past the food court. When I reached the loading dock door, my hand was shaking so badly I could barely get the key in the lock. Another giggle. Closer. I turned. It was 10 feet away, still smiling. I don't remember unlocking the door. I just remember bursting into the parking lot and collapsing against the concrete, gasping for air that didn't smell like death and bleach. Marvin was there, standing next to his rusted-out sedan. "You saw it, didn't you?" I nodded, unable to speak. "You left before your shift ended," he said. "It was going to kill me," I choked out. He didn't deny it. "Yeah, that is usually what happens when a clown moves." I didn't come back the next night, or the one after. I stayed away for a week, barely sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that clown, head tilted, feet twitching. I saw the empty shelf. I heard the click of its little shoes on the tile. But the worst part? I missed it. I missed the twisted predictability, the rules, the structure. I missed knowing when to be afraid and when I could breathe. Normal life didn't offer that. At least in Pine Shadows, the monsters told you how to survive. The money ran out again. I sold my gaming console, my dad's old watch. By the 7th day, I was staring at an empty fridge and an eviction notice. The updated rules card was still on my table. I kept thinking about one line. If you hear any strange sounds, close your eyes and chant, "We shall obey." We shall obey. What got under my skin wasn't the threat, but the implication. The rule wasn't there in case something happened. It was written because they knew it would. Like it was scheduled. Like whatever was out there wasn't just haunting the place. It was running it. I showed up that night at 11:50 p.m. No call. No warning. I just walked through the back door. Marvin was in the security office, sipping from a styrofoam cup. He didn't look surprised. He looked like he'd been expecting me. "Ready to stop running?" he asked. "I'm not sure," I said, "but I'm broke." He nodded and pulled out another laminated card. The edges were silver this time. Final protocols: Pine, Shadows, Mall Night Security. 1. If the clown appears again, you have 2 minutes to leave the mall. 2. If the man on the carousel waves at you, wave back. Then close your eyes and count to 10. 3. Never speak to the cleaning woman. She isn't real. 4. If you receive a call from an unknown number between 2:22 and 2:44 a.m., end it immediately and shut off your phone. 5. Above all else, do not question the rules. It was the last line that got me. It read like a personal warning, as if it knew I was the kind of guy who pulls the threads. That night was the one I'll never forget. It started like the others, but the air felt heavy, oppressive, like the mall itself was holding its breath. Around 1 a.m., I walked past the food court. The carousel was silent. Then I heard it, a faint, low, eerie hum of tune from a forgotten lullaby. I glanced down the hallway and froze. A woman stood near the janitor's closet, sweeping. She wore a faded uniform with the name Edna stitched across the front. I'd never seen her before. I knew the rule: never speak to the cleaning woman. But then she looked up, right at me. "They never listen," she said. "Even the rules are part of the trap." My breath caught. I didn't mean to respond. I swear I didn't. But something inside me cracked. "What do you mean?" Her smile twisted, stretching past the limits of her face, revealing rows of crooked, two human teeth. "They write the rules so you feel safe," she whispered. "But safety is the first lie." Then she lunged. I fell back hard, the wind knocked from my lungs. Her face was inches from mine, her eyes glowing like dying embers, her breath reeking of bleach and rot. I screamed and kicked. Her body hit the floor and vanished in a cloud of gray mist that hissed and curled upward. I didn't go for the exit this time. I ran to Marvin's office. I needed answers. The office was dark, empty, but the desk drawer was open. Inside, I found a folder. It was filled with photographs, Polaroids, ID badge printouts, security cam stills. Each face was marked with a name and a note. Gary broke Rule 5. Clown took him. Sam, East Wing at 12:22. Lost. Lena spoke to cleaning woman. Assimilated. Dan talking back. Becoming aware. My name was at the bottom. In red ink. Under it. Initiate protocol. Let him run. Let me run. Like I was part of a test. I felt sick. If they let me run, that means they knew I would. That they wanted it. That maybe they needed it. I grabbed the folder and bolted. This time, the mall didn't fight me. The doors opened on the first try. No jammed lock. No clown doll. No children's laughter. Just me and the night air. I didn't stop running until I reached the main road, until I saw headlights and a gas station with fluorescent signs that looked divine. Now I'm here, in a diner at 3:14 a.m., writing this on napkins. I keep watching the entrance, flinching every time the bell chimes. Not because I'm worried someone from the mall will find me, but because I think something already did. There's a man sitting outside, gray hoodie, hood up, just staring through the window. He hasn't moved in 30 minutes. And the waitress keeps asking why I'm talking to myself. But I'm not. I'm talking to her. The cleaning woman is standing behind the counter, still smiling. So I'll end with this. Have you ever read a story that felt more like a warning? If someone ever offers you a job at Pine Shadows Mall, say no. No matter how broke you are. Because once you clock in, you're signing a contract you don't understand. And if you've already worked there, check your pocket. You might find a new card with your rules. And next time they might not let you leave.